Hello everybody! It's RaspberryBeryl back at it again for us to read another biography of Mewni. Hello everyone! I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Let me just check the microphone quality quickly. Make sure you can hear me. Test, test, test. Okay, I think we're good. Hello everyone! I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. And are ready for a nice, comfy, short little stream where we read some biographies of Mewni together. Yay! Okay, sorry for the pause. I was checking my keyboard to make sure the stream was running smoothly and such. So yeah, I don't think there's too much more to say, but in case you didn't see my updated schedule, next week, this week, we have changed the Friday stream to be a Saturday stream because schedules change, a little hectic, but everything is good. And then just for this stream, I don't plan to read the entirety 4 parts of the biography. I plan to read the first 2 parts of this biography, and we'll be splitting the story into 2 different streams. Oh, thank you. Okay, so yeah, we're not going to read the whole biography because last time I read the whole biography, my voice just started dying. I couldn't tell if you guys could tell, but it was a little painful afterwards. So we're going to try to be a little less stressful on my voice for this stream and make sure we still have some voice left for tomorrow. Oh yeah, don't worry about being active. These streams are mostly about just listening to the story and enjoying it. You don't need to comment a whole lot, guys. Don't worry about it. Okay, let me get this set up. Transition. So today we are reading the biography of Nyx the Adventurer. And I'm pretty sure, if I understand correctly, this tapestry is going to get updated. So this tapestry might be outdated for pretty soon, but for now this is the tapestry that we have. Okay, let's zoom in. And let me move myself tiny. Let me get myself out of the way. Okay, let me see, is the music on? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, raised in a rare time of peace, this queen desired to explore, used magic to travel to other lands, bringing tales of stuff. Bringing tales the stuff of lore. Sorry for the pause. We'll have to edit that in the final cut. Okay. Nyx the Adventurer, Biography Part 1. Here's our wonderful first portrait. Nyx the Adventurer, born Torax 835 BS, died Darturk 37th 720 BS, was Queen 812 BS through 777 BS, married to Felix Firefly, children Eternia Butterfly, Etheria Butterfly, and Critus Butterfly, mountains. Now we'll quickly go over here to the wand. Nyx's wand was a pickaxe / hatchet. The handle was gold, while the bell area was silver with a yellow starstone. When heated, it can generate a heat as intense as the stars. And it channeled the heat into the blade, capable of tearing open rifts between dimensions. The charger gem was a deeper marionette, found in Mewni. Its coolness balanced the heat, so Nyx couldn't get burned. It's the only wand that was capable of opening portals. And I'm in the way of the crown. Let me just get down here a little. Yeah, I'm still in the way. Okay. Nyx's crown was a bronze tiara. The gems were yellow sunstones she got from the dimension of 1,000 sunsets. Okay, now on to the biography. Let's see. I guess, let me see. Maybe I'll move myself to this corner so you'll be able to see the art well. Not well. There we go. Okay. Princess Nyx was born on Torax 7th, the 29th year of Nebula, or 835 BS. Her mother was Queen Nebula and her father King Rain. She inherited her deceased grandfather Jab's dirty blonde hair, though he has red bangs like her father and has orange eyes. Her birth was rejoiced as the kingdom had a new princess. Their long-term queen finally had an heir. Nyx was a sheltered child, always in her mother's range of view. When Nyx was 3, her mother gave birth to her sister Asteria, and 3 years after that her sister Zoria was born. The 3 sisters were confined to the walls of the castle, never to leave the gate, though they had free range on the inside. Both of these were due to their mother's own childhood. By the time Nyx was 7, she pretty much knew the castle like the back of her hand, though yearned to explore the world outside the castle. To keep her from feeling lonely, on her 8th birthday, her mother gave her 3 ladies-in-waiting, Rosy Monarch, Rava Isis, and Tempest Phoenix. The later was her uncle Thunder's kid. While it was nice to have friends to play with, Nyx still had a desire to explore. The furthest she went from the castle was when she was 10 and went to her first Silverbell ball. While she had a good time, she could see the anxiety in her mother's face when she danced with the present heirs. Nyx still desired to explore, seeing the world out through the carriage window and hearing it from the ladies-in-waiting on their trips home. She heard so many wonderful things from her great-grandfather Dipper, so she asked her mother about seeing the outside world. But she responded with, "Nixie dear, if you want to learn more about the world, read a book. It's less dangerous." So Nyx took her advice, and she spent her days reading about the outside world. As time passed, Nyx had read pretty much all she wanted to know about Mewni, but her desire for adventure still existed. She would spend nights looking at the stars, at times with her sister Asteria, and she wondered, Mewni revolves around the sun, so what if there were other worlds around the stars? She knew the MHC came from different places, and she wanted to learn more about the other worlds. With the thought of visiting other worlds in her head, her burning desire to explore became a forest fire that stuck with her till her 14th birthday in 820 BS. When she eagerly took the wand from her mother, it transformed into a golden hatchet with energy blades, and she suddenly knew what she could do. She held it up high and swung it down, tearing open a hole in time and space, and jumped through it without a second thought. Nyx ended up in a dimension made of food? Ranging from sweets to meats, everything was edible, even the sentient creatures. Though as tasty as she thought they looked, she resisted the urge to eat them. She spent the afternoon bouncing on the desserts called Jello, getting it on her dress. She took some with her before she headed home, hoping it would calm her certainly frazzled mother. She was so excited that night she couldn't sleep. So she tore open another portal. This time it was a not-so-pleasant dimension. It was an eerie place, trees on top of large stone pillars and weird monsters inside of them. But oddly she saw a sandwich, and when she picked it up, the creature chased after her. She portaled home just as the creature tore her nightgown, and she landed in her parents' room, along with her sandwich. While the sandwich was tasty, her parents were worried. And that morning she had a long discussion with her parents. To say that they were excited was an extreme understatement, but Nyx was able to convince them that she was safe. She had the Book of Spells so she could learn how to defend herself, and she could always portal away. Her mother touched her face, telling her to be safe, and with that her adventurous journey began. Nyx and her two sisters. Nyx was beyond excited for her dimensional trips, though she didn't want to journey alone, so her ladies-in-waiting went with her, along with a couple of others who lived in the castle. Crescent Moon, Morgan Valor, and Karamara Flowers. The seven would make a weekly trip on the weekends to go to and travel to other dimensions, calling themselves the Junior Adventurers Club. Every member would carry a journal, writing down their experiences. While they were careful, they did run into trouble from time to time. In the dimension called Woollandia, they got into trouble with the locals and had to fight their way out. While Nyx was the only one with magic, the others were in no way helpless. Crescent knocked countless of them out, screaming, "Knowledge is power!" which gave the group a good laugh. When Nyx wasn't off exploring dimensions, she was practicing her magic. Though she wasn't one of the strongest princesses, according to Baby's evaluation, she was creative. This likely stemmed from her seeing all sorts of new worlds and things. With the apple test, she used a spell to give it wings and fly to Baby, saying she got the idea when she saw a dimension of flying fruits. Although after a year of traveling on the Adventurers Club, brought back something interesting. The Adventurers Club brought back what appeared to be a Mewman, but they found him in a different dimension. He spoke a different language. It was similar yet different from Meunian, but they were able to get a picture. His name was Noah, and his village was destroyed by some warlord. His planet was called Urda, and he was about the same age as Nyx, and he was obviously lonely, so she took him back to Mewni. Nyx and the others took a look at this world. The people there looked similar to Meumans, though they had less colorful hair and eyes, and had no magic. It's possible these beings were some kind of cousin race with no magic. How did they get to Urdia, or Meumans from Urdia to any other way? Nyx saw the pain in his eyes, the pain she was in when her mother was in her mother's whenever she brought up her grandparents. The pain her mother was in whenever she brought up her grandparents. She took him on as a valet, a male equivalent to a lady-in-waiting. though some duties were left to the girls. Nyx taught Noah Munian, and communication became better. The two became very good friends, and despite rumors, it never advanced beyond that. Noah became the 8th member of the Adventurers Club. He revealed he lost his family, so he had no desire to return to his home dimension. She and the club wrote books on their adventures, some of the specifics of the other dimensions, and others as travel guides. The year of 820 BS was also when Nyx came through puberty, though locked up before anything major could happen. During the Harvest Moon Festival, her mother gathered the kingdom and a songster performed a show about her. While the kingdom rather enjoyed it, Nyx found it a little embarrassing. That night, she and her ladies-in-waiting and valet portaled to the kitchen and raided it, making a statement against the perfect princess image. Nyx and the Adventurers Club continued to explore for years to come, sometimes exploring existing lands, other times returning to further explore others. One place they frequently visited was called the Bounce Lounge, a party place or a dance club, and a place for them to cut loose, especially on particularly rough days. One such day was when her great-grandfather Dipper passed away. It was a tragic day, and she got drunk so much so her friends had to drag her to bed. That summer, she was accepted to Ilarion Academy of Sorcery, as well as Rosie, Tempest, and Rava. The later two were older, but waited until Nyx and Rosie could attend so they all could. As for Noah, he wasn't human and didn't show any signs of magic, so she got him into the alchemy courses. This was new. Instead of drawing magic from within, it creates magic effects via certain combination of ingredients. Nyx bringing Noah to Mewni. Nyx focused her studies on combative magic, given her dimensional journeys, and also on rock manipulation. While nobody wanted to harm the princess, she used her sharp tongue to make them want to strike her. While one might think the butterflies have an edge, while that's true on their magical knowledge, princesses don't have as much control over their inner magic in the beginning as other humans. As for her friends, they were doing well too. Even Noah was excelling in alchemy. During their second year of study, that's when things got serious. It's when Nyx met Prince Rooster Robin. He was visiting his younger twin sister, a first year, and he made Nyx blush in a way she never felt before. The two would meet up throughout the year, becoming an official couple the next. Though she heard rumors he slept with other women, she was blinded by her feelings in her heart. In her third year, Nyx fought one of the professors in a combat exam, and while she wasn't the strongest, she had quick wits. She was creative too, using a bunny spell to jump high and a quake spell to split the ground. The spring of 814 BS, Nyx and the others returned home, and Nyx presented her boyfriend Rooster. Nyx was happy to be home, and she and the Adventurers Club resumed their trips, though with skilled magic they traveled to more dangerous dimensions. However, Nyx's bliss would soon run out one summer night. She heard rumors of Rooster's infidelity, and she believed he wasn't cheating, but she took a peek in the bedroom he was staying in the castle. She saw him in bed, not with another woman, but two guys, both castle staff. Nyx screamed, waking up most of the castle. She told him to leave, and she banished the servants too, all in the most profound of language, some even in other tongues. She picked up on various trips. The rage radiating from her was felt by everyone and everything. Rosie told the other ladies that when she brought Nyx soup for lunch, it became as boiling as she was. Her younger sister Asteria was a star reader, making predictions from the stars, and she told her before Rooster wasn't the one for her. To get rid of her anger, she portaled to the Woollandia and brawled to blow off steam. And sadly, she scorched opponents after opponent. Nyx could begin to see Noah getting a little homesick, and she could understand it. He spoke on his dimension's blue skies and single moon versus the many moons and pink skies of Mewni. So she told him if he wanted to go home he could, but he told her, "There is no home for me to go to, 'cause this is my home now." And she understood, though she did offer to take him to Erdia if he wanted, and he smiled at her, appreciating the offer. After the breakup, there were rumors that she was sleeping with Noah, though this was only rumors. She had feelings for Noah, but it was purely platonic. These went away when she made public she was actually seeing Prince Flint Lazuli, fourth in line for his throne. She was in Butterfly with a group of healers helping with a particularly nasty infection that was going around. They publicly announced it in the New Year celebration on the 1st of the 8/12. However, her sister Zora could not stand Flint. For some reason, she always verbally assaulted Flint. Sometimes it would have hurt less to just punch him. She tried to get her sister to be nice to him, started working on kindness spell, though when Nebula learned of this, she warned her daughter that messing with emotions is not wise, referring to her own experience with her worry-free spell. But Nyx believed she had it handled, but she did not. She tried it on the gardener who disliked the rose bushes, and it worked in reverse, and he really hated them, destroying them. So Nyx put the spell aside. So she decided to confront her sister about this, but when she walked into her sister's chambers, she found her in bed, naked, with Flint. Oops. Nyx and her ladies in Ilarion. Okay, and that was part 1. Now to part 2. To say Nyx was upset was an understatement. They were fighting in the halls when their mother broke up the fight. Never had there been such words said between royal siblings, not even when Queen Dipper banished his brother Phobos, or when sisters Hermra and Orbita would regularly brawl. There was some shattered vases and a portrait or two with a hole, but bottom line, all parties escaped alive, not necessarily unscratched, but alive. Nyx was just so steamed, she was seriously afraid she was going to hurt somebody, so she packed a bag and went on a solo journey across the universe. Needed to burn off her anger. First place she went was the magic tummy bear dimension. There were these adorable colored beads with marks on their tummies. But they all were about sharing and kindness. After a couple of days of sickly sweetness, most of Nyx's anger was extinguished. She later went to the killer cats dimension. She fought against bipedal killer cats. She got cut on the arm, but she also took an eye. This helped her burn off whatever excess anger and energy she had. By the end, they wanted her as their new leader. She was so savage. Took a piece of one of their leaders as a cape. Though she burned through her emotions, she still didn't feel like going home, so she went on to another dimension. She ended up in the dimension of singing squirrels. Couldn't get out quick enough. When she hopped in dimension of killer robots yelling eliminate, sliced a couple dozens and then had fun doing it. Took a gem she tore out from one of the robot's power sources. She then went on to a world full of centaurish creatures, different than the monsters back home. They had their own magic and weird spells, like shooting tiny versions of themselves from their hooves. She wrote that down for later. By 2 weeks after she left, she returned home, wore the gem as a necklace. Her mother freaked out over a scar on her shoulder, but Nyx was okay with it. Things were heavy in the castle when she returned, but she didn't hurt her sister or Flint, no matter how many times she saw him with Zoria. When fall rolled around, her mother began talking to her about being queen, and Nyx liked the idea. She spent the next few months attending meetings with her mother, getting a feel on how things worked, and she got a handle on it real quickly. On Torax 6, the night before the coronation, her mother talked with her, said how proud she was. Glad she matured into a role instead of being forced into one like she was. And Nyx promised her mother that she would be a good queen like her, and her mother said she would be an even better than her. After the coronation, Nyx flourished in her role as queen, said goodbye to her parents, who yearned to travel as she did. This made her dimensional travels less frequent, but her friends also grew into their other roles. Crescent took over as head librarian, Morgan became a captain of a ship that made regular trips between kingdoms, and Cameron moved to a valley south of the Atlas Mountains, marrying Cole Stone, and they started the new stone house in the Mountains Kingdom, and sent Nyx delicious wines from their region. Her ladies Rosie, Rava, and Tempest didn't have much more duties since Nyx became queen. and in the fall of 812, her and Tempest attended the coronation of their other cousin, Molten Phoenix, and his wife. He was younger than them, but the son of their dad's older brother, Storm. And while Nyx was happy, she was a little embittered he had found real love at his age. She had remembered her great-grandfather Dipper wasn't in a serious relationship when he was her age, though her last two experiences with love didn't go over well, but she had only recently started her childbearing years, so she had plenty of time to find real love. There was no need to rush things, though when she heard her sister Asteria was dating Rooster, it was a little like a slap on the face. Three cousins, a king, a lady, and a queen. It was the summer of 810 BS, and Nyx was taking a stroll to the village near the Forest of Certain Death when she decided to explore the edges, and she came across a body. Based on the clothing he was wearing, he seemed to be from Firefly. He was blonde and had fresh scars on his cheek. She could see he was breathing, leaned in closer, and shoved him to wake him up, but when that didn't work, she smacked him in the face, shouting, "Wake up!" and he screamed awake. He asked her what the heck she was doing, and she asked him the same, sleeping in the Forest of Certain Death. But before he could answer, they were attacked by 3 barracorns. Though they fought against them, Nyx used her magic while the man used non-magical fighting, but was really good at it, used his staff to deal blows while remaining at the safe distance from the blows. It only took a few minutes for them to knock out the barracorns. After seeing her wand, the man kneeled. He knew she was Queen Nyx Butterfly. He should have realized it with the cheek marks. He introduced himself as Lord Felix Firefly. He was King Lumos's grandson. His mother was King Spark's youngest sister. With the introductions out of the way, she asked him why he was why he was in the accursed forest in the first place, taking a nap. He was part of a group that wanted to chart the monster nations, thinking it could be useful for the future in case another war broke out. While Nyx admitted it was a good idea, she said there wouldn't be a war as long as she was queen. Felix said it couldn't hurt to be prepared, and he wasn't taking a nap. He passed out from exhaustion. There was an attack at his camp. That's when he got the scar. He didn't know if there were any other survivors. Nyx went with him to make sure. It was easier as she preferred flat footwear instead of heels other queens wore. And the place? Well, it was a bloodbath. She had what men she brought search the forest for survivors, but after 3 days there was no others. Felix was still hurt, so she brought him back to the castle to rest and heal, and Nyx enjoyed hearing of the stories of the monster nations he had been in, though her initial dimensional trips trumped those. He stayed in Butterfly for a few months. He grew out a beard to hide part of his scar, and Nyx quite admired it. The years turned to 809, and Felix got a letter from his cousin, Queen Burgundy, requesting he come to court. Though made as a request, Nyx knew better than anyone that a request from a queen is really a command, so she said goodbye to her friend, though she hoped she would see him again. The year 808 came, 5th year of Nyx. She was 27 years old. By then, all Mew women would have started their birthing years, and given Nyx's unmarriedness, she got sent portraits of men, royal and noble births, and a couple from very wealthy families, and her court urged her to pick one as a husband. Nyx wasn't much of a fan of the way things were developing, how people were made for wealth, not for love beforehand, but this was the world that was developing. As queen, Nyx could only choose people from certain stations, and honestly, Nyx didn't like them. Could be her own experience with men, 2 of whom she was deeply in love, and they cheated on her. One had married Zoria in a small ceremony which she wasn't invited to, and she heard word that the new King Rooster Robin was naming Asteria as his future bride. Without the duties of a wife, Nyx was still explored, although without most of her friends it wasn't as much fun. Her ladies were entertaining suitors of their own, though Noah was still around. Some thought of him as Nyx's pet more than a person, though she never thought of him like that. She offered to help that. She offered to help him out with her queenly influence, but he said he would rather find love on his own. On a journey when it was just the two of them, she looked at him and smiled when he punched out a three-headed snake. He was nothing like the weak, fragile boy she found all those years ago. Nyx and Felix's first meeting. That's when she slaps him on the face, I guess. In the summer, a man named Dirt Sands came to court with the intentions of courting the queen. While she heard this before, this man was charming. Many women and few men gawked over him, though his eyes remained on Nyx. After a week, Nyx began to open her heart to the idea of him as a boyfriend. Said he was from one of the island kingdoms forming in the oceans, and a sort of unfamiliar with mainland court. One of her ladies, Rava, suggested she marry the man. He seemed court ignorant, so he couldn't threaten her power, and he was quite handsome, so they'd have beautiful children. Though Nyx said she wanted to learn more about him before she started picking their children's names. Finally, one night she invited Dirt to her chambers, and he brought some wine and offered her a glass, and she began to feel woozy. That's when Dirt took off his mask. He wasn't a man, but a monster, one of the mud dwellers. He posed as a prince to get close to the queen and assassinate her. Then, in the chaos, his kind would retake their lands, and the other monsters stole from them lands the other mewns stole from them 300 years ago. But Nyx, she opened her heart again and was just put over the edge. She was filled with so much rage, and she dipped down, summoned her inner magic, and unleashed a fire so hot it was blue, and the mud dweller turned solid and crumbled. The drugs took effect as she passed out, woke up the next morning by the sun's light. She took her hatchet wand and smashed the muddy statue and melted it in the tub, mixed it with some other herbs and scents, and it became the mud mask material. Did wonders for her skin, and she never told anyone what had happened. She couldn't let anyone know she was almost assassinated, that it was possible to get to her. It would make her look weak, and a lesson her mother learned when she was but a child. It was one that a queen mustn't appear weak to her subjects. Nyx could not let anyone see the hardness of her heart. There was no one to share it with either. Her sisters had long moved out and her parents were still traveling, and she felt like she might never be able to trust a man again. By 807, Nyx felt she would never have a husband, that she couldn't trust a man with her heart. This sunk in when she got an invitation to the wedding of Asteria and Rooster in the coming months. When she attended the wedding, she saw Felix again, sent as an ambassador. Apparently there was still some unresolved grievances between his cousin, the queen and Rooster, and luck would have it, her and Felix would sit side by side at the table. Nyx was glad to see her friend again. They shared a glass of wine in a private chamber in the castle, and Nyx spilled what happened, how a man she started to see a future with wanted to kill her. She said she was done with men, that she would die an old queen alone, pass it on to one of Asteria's daughters or granddaughters. Felix said she shouldn't say that, but Nyx said she was done with love, that it was overrated anyway. Went on about most marriages were just another form of signing a contract, a pact, an agreement, blah blah, how that no man would ever love her. Felix said that if it's not her, it's not the men, that it's not her, it's the men, that the men were stupid enough to look past her and not past her, that any man, I'm sorry, this is really hard to read, that any man stupid enough to look past her is not worthy of her. Said that when she slapped him that day, he missed her marks because of her stunning beauty, and she was the fantastic fighter, and all the places she had seen, all the wonders, yet she was the greatest wonder that any of the worlds had ever seen. Nyx just stared at him for a moment. She walked up to him, pulled him up, and kissed him. When she pulled back for a moment, Felix pulled her back in. Then they both just stood there for a full minute, just staring at each other's eyes. Nyx licked her thumb and wiped away the lipstick she wore that had gotten on his lips away. She said she was sorry, but Felix said she had nothing to apologize for, that just because her heart had been hurt doesn't mean she shouldn't trust it. Nyx chuckled, said she knew what her heart wanted, but asked if his wanted it too. Felix kissed her cheek and said it was his answer. Oh my, that was quite something. Nyx and Felix's first kiss. Nyx and Felix had a very healthy relationship, and they weren't shy about it. Despite being hurt before, Nyx trusted Felix. He had a passion that she hadn't seen in her past relationships, not just in the bedroom, but in everything. He has court appearances and supported Nyx in both royal and in unroyal actions. She could see the two having a permanent relationship, a future together, so in summer, Nyx gave him the ring that belonged to her mother and grandmother and asked him to be her king, and Felix said he would rather just be her husband, making Nyx smile big. They decided to marry in the spring of 806 BS. That way her mother and father could attend. They sent invitations to all over. It was a huge turnout. Her mother returned 6 weeks before the appointed date. It had been 6 years since she left, but felt like forever. Nebula said that she was proud of her daughter. She was ruling beautifully and had found someone to marry. It only took time. On the 1st of Zamarinor, Nyx was escorted into the temple by her parents and saw her sisters in the front rows with their husbands. But she felt nothing, only love for Felix and the future they were going to have. Her and Felix's honeymooned for 2 weeks in the sunset dimension. It was a beautiful place. But when she got back to the Magical Eye Commission were waiting for her, apparently there was a trouble on a planet she hadn't been to in many years, Urdia. Apparently on Noah's homeworld, the very land he was from was taken over by a dark wizard, and if they didn't stop him, the entire planet could fall to him as the inhabitants were weak creatures. So Nyx and Noah, along with Felix and their friends and the MHC, traveled to Urdia to deal with this. This dark wizard looked like Noah's race, but had black tattoos on his body and was quite powerful, and spoke in a language that Nyx had picked up from Noah. Where this person got this kind of power was never known, but Noah knew him from when he was a child, saw him leading the charge that destroyed his home, so this was deeply personal. Nyx and her friends did their best, but the wizard was strong. It reminded Nyx of the man who killed her grandparents, all the death and destruction, and when she saw this wizard about to hurt her friends, she went into her butterfly form for the first time to protect her friend. The wizard was strong, but no match for Nyx's inner magic, and the magic from her friends also helped weaken him, and Noah took a knife and stabbed the man through his heart, shouting, "For my friends and my family," in his native tongue. During this time, the MHC were holding back his forces, and once the wizard was dead, they took their leave. Though the old adventurers club stayed behind, their work was not yet done. They finished liberating the lands, freeing Noah's home, and he was approached by a woman named Clara. Noah couldn't believe it. They knew each other from before. Each thought the other died in the village attack all those years ago. They set up a small village for them to live in. As Nyx opened the portal to leave, Noah said he wouldn't go. He wanted to stay here, help rebuild his home, and Nyx understood, but said that they would always be best friends, and that she would drop by to visit. She went home feeling bittersweet. She had to say goodbye to her best friend, but he left for the right reasons, and it wasn't a final goodbye, not by a long shot. They spent about half their lives together. He grew up in a completely different world, but he never forgot his old, and now he was going to help rebuild it. Nyx spent much of the next years in a quiet, peaceful rule. Her mother told her she was glad her daughter's reign was marked by peace and not by war and death like hers. Nyx handled much of her royal duties on her own, allowing Felix the time to pursue his passion for research, but not too busy for their main duty, producing an heir. And in 799, Nyx discovered she was with child, a part of her life she put a lot of thought towards and looked forward to. Nyx dipping down on Urdia. And although this stream was only 30 minutes long, that is where we're going to end it today. Because I want to make sure the next stream we have time to, where we won't be too short doing the final 2 parts. So let's see, 2 more parts left in this biography. So again, sorry that this was really short. I hope you guys enjoyed though. And we will get back pretty soon to read the final 2 parts of this biography. Thank you all for joining today. And I'll see you all tomorrow to read the next Minecraft YouTube chapters of that story. Thank you for joining and have a great rest of your days. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.